recorded. So if you're listening to this later, as usual, send me your feedback, anything you wanted to say that you weren't able to be in here for. We could talk about it at another time if you want. Uh, Economic stuff and leading into the economy is actually maybe is the time, friends, to buy stock in American Eagle. We'll get into that. And I think unless you've been asleep for the better part of a week, you know why. And that's the latest controversy that's driving left-wing people insane. And the memes are great and all that good stuff. We have a new viral situation here with Sydney Sweeney. So that's going to be a topic of discussion because evidently American Eagle and wearing jeans and stuff is, in the opinion of a lot, not some leftists, but a lot of them, definitely not the fringe. But this is what happens with the left. They've been so overtaken by radicals and communists and freaks and fat fringe people from um the last couple letters of the LGBTQ movement. Uh they've just been taken over. I mean, they just have a meltdown, or an emotional meltdown over everything that is it. Well, for them, they say it's offensive, but it's just normal behavior. It's a fucking commercial about a chick putting jeans on. Anyway, it's worth talking about because it does affect revenue. And I haven't. I'll look it up now on my app, but I have a couple of exchanges on my phone for like investment stuff. I'll take a look at what American Eagle stock is at right now. But I was always more of an ANF guy, to be honest with you. ANF got really big in the late '90s, early 2000. My era of going to college and stuff, and Abercrombie was like the place to be. So we'll get into that. But I don't really wear American Eagle stuff, but if buying some clothing boosts their sales and gets people on the left and on the fringe all stirred up, I'll do it. I'm definitely not against being a shit disturber at all. Um, that goes with anything. That goes with work. That goes with sports, uh, life, acquaintances, people I meet. I'm definitely not against being a shit disturber. So why not, right? All right, we are going to weave in some boring economy, though. If we can go back and forth between Sydney Sweeney and the economy, I do think it's important because uh, yours truly has been obsessing about tariffs for like 6 or 7 months now, maybe a bit before that. And I think it's interesting because take a look at yeah, I got up in the nest. So from the White House, thus far, we've accumulated $150 billion in tariff revenue, which I hope is earmarked to pay down the debt. Okay. Now, you guys have lives, so you don't keep track of this, but I have to tell you, friends, that the GDP of many of the European countries that comprise the EU that we just made that massive trade deal with over the weekend are less than that amount. Let me give you some high end and low end projections. Denmark has a annual GDP of roughly 2 billion USD. Okay. I know the UK is not, England's not in the EU anymore, but we'll just call it European countries, right? They're at about 148 billion a year. At least that's what they were in 2024. So we've already accumulated more in tariff revenue from basically February through July, and July's almost over, as you know, uh, than the entire United Kingdom's gross domestic product. Okay, so that's a staggering amount of money, friends. Not a lot of people, not a lot of countries have an extra 150 billion kicking around. That's just what we've gotten, guys. We still have 5 months left of this year. So this is not a small thing. This is a big thing, right? I can't even begin to tell you the relevance of this. And unfortunately, people's focus is on other things right now when it should be on the fact that this country is absolutely kicking ass. It's the hottest country on the planet, as the cool kids say. And we haven't even begun to scratch the surface, friends. Like, economy's good. We're looking at possibly 3% growth for the balance of the year. Now look at where we were just 7 or 8 months ago when Sleepy Joe Biden was there. Now look at where we're at today. We're talking about being in growth, finishing up the year in the green, not the red. We had a surplus last month at the Treasury Department in June. Not a lot of money, but a couple of billion. You got to start somewhere, friends. That's extremely positive news, guys. And I'm not exactly sure why uh, other conversations are superseding what's going on. The guy won the election on immigration and the economy, guys. He didn't win the immigration talking to, mandating everybody play 36 holes of golf a week, or this is what rebuilding the military too. That's a big piece of it, and that's happening as well. So it leads me to one avenue of thought right now, and that is, why don't people want to talk about this? Is it because it's not sexy? It's because it's nerding out on the economy? I mean, guys, whether you want to learn about it or not, or understand how it works or not, is immaterial. The economy is going to affect you no matter where you are, no matter what you do, no matter whether you spend a lot of money, a medium amount of money, or you're uh, a frugal person. It's going to affect you, right? How many of you are in limbo trying to buy a house right now? We'll get to that, right? So you should take an interest in this stuff because this is stuff that affects you. A list with a bunch of perverts on it doesn't affect your life, like, at all. It has less, if it's possible, less than zero impact on the lives of anybody in here. So I know what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to focus on this country to keep making money, for people to start getting better jobs if they're underemployed, and that perverts that went to the Caribbean with underage girls, I hope and pray that they get hit by a bus. That's my in that order. That's the pecking order of where I'm at right now. So anyway, Ben's got his hand up. I'll pause here and then we'll roll into everything else. What's up, man? What's going on?
Hey, man. No, I just I wanted to say that American Eagle isn't made in the U.S. and surprisingly, there aren't a whole lot of clothing manufacturer brands that are made in the U.S. But I think with the whole economy and Trump, maybe one of the reasons why it isn't being talked about as much. So this is, at least I can speak from my own perspective here, because that's like the bare minimum that I was expecting Trump to do, was just to turn everything around, right? Like that's like the bare minimum, and then everything else was going to be extra. Um, I think a lot of people just want, they want people to go to jail, and I'm not talking about Epstein or anything like that. I'm just talking about the whole, the whole corrupt, everything else, the cherry on top. But I think that just, there's the tariffs, the economy, the market. I mean, everything that's like bare minimum that we're in the expectations of being fixed with him in office. That's I think probably maybe the biggest thing, at least from my perspective. But yeah, American Eagle is weird. I stopped. I used to rock a lot of American Eagle, but all these clothing lines just changed. They got all that metrosexual type weird stuff, and yeah, Sydney Sweeney, yeah, she was she modeled it successfully. It was a hit. It's amazing to see what, you take the Blair White and the whatever Bud Light dude out of the equation, you actually have, like, you go back to the basics and how things fly off the shelves.
Right on. Ben, that's exactly right. I think there it is, guys. I was overthinking it. That was people just expected that Trump was going to fix the economy, and that's a safe bet because he did it the first time around, right? Uh, and people want to see the sexy stuff. Um, understood. As far as American Eagle goes, let me give you guys a rundown. I promised you the stock price and what have you. So they're at about 11.53 a share right now. They're actually down 50 cents a share from yesterday. So here's a little readout on American Eagle. So their New York Stock Exchange symbol is AEO. Okay. Um, Alpha Echo Omega. Okay. Um, American Eagle Outfitters Incorporated is a multi-brand specialty retailer which offers an assortment of apparel and accessories for men and women. It just said men and women, guys. No third gender option there. Under the American Eagle Outfitters brand, and intimates apparel and personal care products for women under the Aerie brand. The firm operates stores in the US, Canada, Mexico, Hong Kong, China. That's Hong Kong, comma China. I don't know why they separate them, but and the United Kingdom. It's also acquired two emerging brands to complement its existing brands: Tailgate, a vintage sports-inspired apparel brand, and Todd Snyder New York, a premium menswear brand. The company was founded in 1977, headquartered in Pittsburgh. Uh, Market cap is $2 billion. Some news, bar chart. Sydney Sweeney just launched a meme rally in American Eagle. Should you buy American Eagle stock here? Most people are saying yes. So right now, the analysts on my trading app here that I use every day, about 15% of investors are bullish. That means they're buying shares every day of American Eagle. You've got 15% selling. Okay, so that you would call them bearish investors. Okay, they don't think it's going to make a lot of money. Yet the analysts are saying by 70%. American Eagle and Abercrombie were next door to each other in the local mall I used to go to in college. And they were very, very big because remember those carpenter jeans that were big in the late 90s that had the hammer holder that guys were wearing? So Abercrombie had those. American Eagle had those. There was a big difference in the price. AF had A&F, I'm sorry. They were, I think, better quality. They had a big cologne line, I think, that was popular. A lot of dudes that when I was out in Boston and stuff, I could smell guys that had the A&F cologne on a block away because they'd use a ton of it. So it was popular back then. That was like the standard. Let me explain to you folks the standard outfit for going out in like 1999. It was an American Eagle dress shirt or Abercrombie and Finch dress shirt, right? Uh, those hammer holder jeans, usually Doc Martin boots. What else? Yeah, that's about the extent of it. So it's interesting that 25 years after I've stepped foot in American Eagle, that it's kind of in vogue again in style, as they say, because, well, for good reason. So that's where we're at. And anytime a company is doing well, it deserves to factor into a conversation. So I think this is good because if you've seen the ads, I'll try and get one up there. They're not trying to portray they're not putting a transgender person in. It's just your standard issue hot girl putting on jeans. So this stuff sounds very basic, and you're probably wondering why I'm talking about it. I'm talking about it because left-wing people are melting down, saying it's like Nazi stuff. Maybe because it's not a transgender person that weighs 300 pounds that nobody wants to see in a pair of jeans. Maybe that's what they want, but they're not getting it, and I'm really happy about that. So look up in the nest too. Shout out to Bella, and she's supporting the brand, putting her hard-earned money where her posts are. So I think that's awesome. So those are some. Let me just take a look. I need reading glasses. I'm telling you, it's getting smaller and smaller every day. This print. So it looks like those stretch waisted flare jeans are about $42. So I would, I think it's worth the investment, ladies. You'll all look good in them. All right, who's next? Apothecary, I think. How are you?
Hey, Gads. Um, I heard a couple of things in there that I thought I'd just jump up and tap on for a second. Yeah, Trump, big part of his campaign, the border and the economy, and yeah, making massive headways in both of those areas. I agree. One boost that we can't ignore in Trump's campaign is when he allied with Maha and RFK Jr. And, Maha is taking a lot of criticism from within and without because we haven't gotten these vaccines stopped yet. Just everybody wants a full stop on this. But I have to, agree with that, agree 100%. But we have made so much headway, and it's hard to recognize the headway that Maha's made if you haven't been in this fight for decades like I have. But I mean, just getting the petrochemicals out of our food supply. They've got a bunch of the major food manufacturers working in that direction. Never thought I'd see that happen. Um, he's got a lot of reform that's going to really save taxpayers a lot of money right now, going after these corrupt scientific journals, Journal of American Medical Association, New England Journal of Medicine. Even over in the UK, the Lancet, they're having to stand up and pay attention also, because right now the Health and Human Services is absolutely calling them out. This is really a big deal, probably a bigger deal than people know, because all of our doctors basically think that stuff is gospel, and it's not. A lot of it is based on junk science. And we can't keep having all this junk science that we've been swallowing literally for a very, very long time, longer than I've even been alive. And that's a long time. um, Pediatricians are trying to right now to get all of the non-medical exemptions out so that you have no recourse whether or not you vaccinate your kid before you put them in school. And Maha is addressing that as well. And which is a good thing because they've really made a lot of noise about this over the years, and people have pushed back, but now they're going at it full force. And to have HHS behind us on that and supporting exemptions is important. What they need to do, though, is they just make it where exemptions are not necessary. Parents can say yes, they can say no, and that's it when it comes to these kids vaccines. I mean, they're just doing so many things right now that people may not be aware of, or if they are aware of them, they just don't understand the magnitude and significance of some of this stuff. And I agree. I want the shots stopped, full stop. Even just those amendments to the international health regulations from that treaty back in 1948. They're trying to tack those 19 amendments on. I hosted my first space on that in December of 2021, and it's a threat that has been looming over our heads all this time. And now RFK Jr. is saying, no, we're not going to do this, we're pulling out of this right now. I mean, that in of itself is huge, because that would absolutely just be an avenue for global, the WHO basically, to circumvent our Constitution. I mean, just every single step that Maha has made has been an enormous step. And I'm going to tell you why they can't stop these COVID vaccines right now. It's not because of NIH, it's not because of CDC, FDA, or any of that stuff. It's not even it. Well, it is a product of the EUA, but it's a Department of Defense thing. It is a military deal. And so that's the holdup right now. They've got to do other things to get it stopped because the military is involved in this. And I know that they'll get it done. We're just going to have to wait a little bit longer. Do I want to wait? I do not want to wait. And I know people are very, very frustrated about it, but we've got to stay in support of Kennedy and his bunch, even though I'm not a big fan of Macri. But we've got to stay in support of them because they are moving things in the right direction. Anything they do in the right direction right now, I consider an enormous win. When you've been in this fight as long as I have, and with the people that I have, all of these people that I have been working with for 2 decades, they're all in that disinformation dozen that Biden declared at the beginning of his presidency. Like, we've been fighting a long time, and we are tired, but we're not going to give up. And we are thankful for any degree of progress that we can get right now. You're talking about 300 people or 300-pound people squeezing into American Eagle jeans or whatever. and how, that's just like wrong. We all just know it's just wrong. Well, a lot of the things I just addressed is why we've got so many 300-pound people in this country right now. So if we're going to take it on, we're going to need to take it on at the root cause. That is the obesity problem, and that is the poisons that we are being subjugated to in this country. And that is my rant for the day. Thank you for letting me have it.
You're welcome. Yes, there's a lot of 300 people walking around, male and female alike, and I am hoping that people will just eat better. I think it's much easier for people to eat better because there's just a lot of people that are engaging in mainstream medicine, and that I don't foresee that changing in the next 4 years, maybe the next decade. But there is a method to it. I don't partake in mainstream medicine, guys, and my holistic doctor can't believe I'm 46 years old, and it's not like I'm a triathlete or anything. So there is merit to living a paleo lifestyle. I like to say paleo lifestyle, etc. So thank you, Apothecary. I am happy with what RFK is doing at Health and Human Services. I think they're running on all cylinders. I think they're doing pretty well. All right, Janet, you're up.
Thank you for letting me speak, and good afternoon or good early evening for everyone. Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know I shared a article on my timeline from Us Magazine talking about the ad that Sydney Sweeney's in, and saying that she's being over-sexualized or whatever. I think it's ridiculous. It's stupid. And after all the trans stuff that we've been watching, them pretty much doing sexual stuff in the streets and everywhere they go, and exposing themselves to children, it's nice to actually see a young, beautiful woman wearing clothes in a presentable manner to make other young people want to dress appropriately with some decent pants. So what I recommend is everybody go out and buy you some jeans. That's what I wanted to say. And thank you so much, Gads, for having this space. And God bless America.
So, Janet, the question is, thank you. The question is, do you plan? I see Bella's buying them, or has planned. Are you going to buy some of these? I think I should ask every
Heck
woman.
yeah,
that.
and as soon as I get them, I'll post a picture of me wearing them. I think everybody should, and I think we should do that in support of the
Check.
What cap check, nasty?
She said she's gonna post a picture.
Oh. I thought I okay, I get it.
Word
Janet,
wasn't in here yet.
Yeah, Janet. So there you go. You're in a recorded space. So those pictures will be. We need what the lawyers call prima facie evidence. Prima facie for basically that's Latin for first hand, first face. We need evidence, Janet. We need receipts, as the millennials say. And I think that's good because, look, we all see where this is headed. Oh, no, it's not headed in this direction. The left is always trying to cancel or shun stuff that's just normal. Like Sydney Sweeney's not political unless somebody else has a. I haven't seen her outside of Saturday Night Live, like really say or do anything newsworthy. So I haven't heard her opinion on shit. I don't know. And 3 or 4 people sent me videos of this. I don't even know what gender this person is, like what their birth gender is. It's kind of like it's an Pat type person that is part of the LGBTQ flag community, going off calling her a Nazi or something like that. I think you're all familiar with it. I'll try and get it up there. But several people sent me that, and I know exactly what the direction they're trying to maneuver this in. It's not working. Like Sydney Sweeney has crossed. There's so many political in this country that just think that she's hot and like those jeans. I see those jeans on every woman when I'm out and about. Those like flared jeans are really popular, and they have been for some time. So this isn't like a new style. Anyway, it's summertime and not a lot of people were in jeans in the daytime. So I'm not going to sit here and say I saw like 5 women wearing those today, but it is frequent. Gemini, did you want to say something, or did you?
I just wanted to say that I buy all my jeans from them. I always have. I love their jeans, actually. I don't know if I'll buy that style. I have to look at it, but I do love that company. I buy their t-shirts, and I just always have loved their jeans. They just fit me because I'm short. I buy the jegging jeans, and they just work better for me because I'm so short. I don't know if I could wear those big, like poofy on the bottom ones, but I like them. They fit really good and they make your butt look good. So I've always enjoyed them.
Have you tried Gap Kids?
I should. It's hard to find good jeans when
Well,
you're short.
how tall are you, Gemini? Again,
I'm 5'2".
I see. Janet, how tall are you? You told me once, but I forgot. I'm sorry.
I'm
I think she's tall.
I'm 5'8.5", right around 5'9".
See, she's a tall lady, and Summer and Bella are tall too. I'm the short one.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm 5'8" and I'm slender and I love those wide leg jeans. I've got several. When the bell bottoms came back, boy, I had me a whole bunch. I still have a lot of bell bottoms, but I like the flare legs too. So I'm gonna look into those. I don't know. Sounds good.
Apothecary, those were like when I was in high school, it was like the mid 90s, and those were massively popular. I mean, I'm kind of in a hippie area anyway, but like the hottest girl in my class, I even remember her name, Hira Maddock. I think she lives in Vermont somewhere now. She wore those like every day. And trust me, every guy noticed that every day. But like I said, when I went to college, American Eagle and Abercrombie that there was like no other place to go. Those are the best places to go. They had all the clothes. They always had a lot of clothes. Uh, they had my 34 size all the time. Uh, I used to like the dress shirts a lot. Back then, we weren't tucking in our shirt a lot. I know that's kind of looked down upon now, but that was the style back then. Always the untucked shirt. I would never do that now. I always tuck my shirts in when I go out, but I'm an old guy now, so older guy. So I try and act my age. There's a lot of people that are like in their 50s and 60s that don't act their age at all.
That would be me. Thank you, Gads. I appreciate that.
No,
Guilty as
not
charged.
no. Trust me, Apothecary, not you. There's some habitual offenders. I mean, they act like they're, like romper room teenagers, and on this app, or they have these just stupid low IQ posts and things like that. That's what I'm referring to. But hey, act as young as you want or as old as you want. It's good either way with me, everybody. Back to you, Ben. What's going on?
Hey again. So yeah, I'm going to use Carol's sentence, which you'll never hear me say, which was pulling out of this right now. But I do have a medical question for Carol, and it's this. And I understand this new concept of the frumpy jeans, and that's cool. I appreciate that. But do you think for men that this whole spandex stretchy thing that they had going on, that I think is still maybe a thing with the tight jeans, and then you got the the low hangers, the testes that are supposed to be just dangling, they're not, because they're these tight scrunchy whatever jeans, could potentially have an impact with sperm production and birth rates, or just if you had to speculate, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think guys need a little room. And every time I see a guy wearing those now, I hear the words, and with a little New Hampshire kind of accent, soy boy. Like I hear Gadsden's voice going soy boy in my ear anytime I see a guy dressed like that.
But I mean, really though, for guys, right? Like, Mark, I mean, everybody. I mean, I don't think anyone likes tight jeans. I mean,
No.
your guys need some space. You're not going to sit like Justin Trudeau. I mean, you just can't. Personally, for me, I just can't do that. I need space. I need room to breathe, and I don't understand it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And also, ladies, for your health as well, because we are more prone to urinary tract infection, and those anything tight in the crotch like that's going to increase your risk for getting a UTI. So, I mean, it's everybody, and we need to be looking at cotton, people. Stay away from these synthetic fibers. Okay.
Some guy I used to work with a long time ago, he was an older guy, so his heyday was like the early 80s. He told me that he he was in a band too, like at night. So he wore like, tight leather and tight. He told me him and his wife couldn't have more than one kid, and it was his fault. And the doctor said because he was wearing tight pants. I never knew how much I put stock in that, but maybe there's something to it. I don't know for sure, but I have heard that. But yeah, you gotta.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Well, you probably. Hi, I'm Steve. You probably. I see. I've been in your space before. Great conversations. Hey, Janet. Over the past years, things have always changed. Like styles have always changed. Back in the '80s, they had all different clothes styles, even through the '90s. Nowadays, things have just totally changed.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, it's everything comes back again. Everything boomerangs and comes back again. There's
Yeah.
I'm happy like hemp necklaces never came back. I used to wear those guys. It's bad. Those were big when I was a kid. Well, like teenager, not a young kid, but
One of the things that I had that I don't have anymore, those wallets that have those chains on them where you like attach the chains to the belt and you put the wallet in front. I used to have one of them. They were pretty cool, but then I realized, I don't really need that.
yeah, I would imagine that's it's kind of a skateboarder thing if I remember right.
Damn, it is. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a while ago. Yeah, it's like ancient history. But yeah, just seeing this American Eagle stuff in the news invokes memories for me. I don't go there anymore. Like I said, I generally don't buy my clothes at the mall at all. So maybe I should now. I don't know.
The
Like I
mall
said,
days are over.
well, just even like outlet. Usually it's outlet stores. I get a lot of them near me, so
Mhm.
there's no need to go to a regular mall. And when you got like outlet stores, it's not because it's a cheaper price. That's good, but I mean they're just more readily available to my area in a tax-free state. So, all right. What do
Can I
we
throw
got?
this at you?
Yeah,
Megan
go for it.
Fox Transformers or Sydney Sweeney American Eagle?
Wait, what?
Did you not?
Wait,
Did
what?
you guys hear that?
Yeah, I did. I got to give you an alternative, Ben, because
Oh hell!
I got somebody else. You got to give me an option 3. I got to think about it, but it'll be on the tip of my tongue. I'll get back to you on that. I would say right now, I think that something tells me Megan Fox turns into a vampire at night. So, given how I've seen her lately, so I got
Well,
to
I
think
think
of it.
I think she also trends all her kids too. But if you rewind from that,
Who's the other Sydney? Thomas. That would be my pick. Sydney Thomas, the other model, who often gets confused with Sydney Sweeney. I kind of like her better. That's just my opinion. Yeah, Carol.
Well, I'd always thought that the reason these style trends go in and out as quickly as they do, and they do. The long shirts. It wasn't very long ago. These longer tunic length shirts for the ladies, the tops, and now they're coming back with the crop tops, like what we had, in the '80s. And I've always thought, well, they do that so that your clothing is out of style and you'll feel compelled to buy more clothing. Plus now they're making them where they don't last anyway. So that was always my thought, is they're just trying to sell more clothes, keep changing the style and changing the style. You got to go get new stuff or you look dated. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, it's just basic, right? In the summer, I kind of like my favorite brand actually is Vineyard Vines, which is really big up here. You guys probably wouldn't know about that, and that might be a good thing. But it's your typical like white boy summer attire. it's just really popular, like yacht wear and stuff like that. That's really popular around this area. It just works, you know. It goes with the area, and it's I've been wearing Sperry's my entire life. You know, like I know they were out of style for a while. Now they're back in, but I've never like not worn boat shoes on the regular. I don't know why people stopped wearing them, but when you're underway and offshore a lot, that's kind of like standard, you know. Anyway, I'm gonna go to I think this is JW. We'll go to him next. Then we're gonna shift into the tariff talk, guys, because there's been some developments, which is why I wanted to open this. There's always room for Sydney Sweeney, but all right, go ahead, man. What's up?
Hey, yeah, talking about clothing and tight jeans and stuff like that. So, I told you that I used to go to school. Well, I went to high school in Hyannis to, Hyannisport. So I was in the Kennedy area back in the 80s, the early 80s, and it was either American Eagle Outfitters or Abercrombie and Fitch. And then when I moved back to Texas after that, when I graduated high school and everything, went to work on my grandfather's farm and then got into rodeo. And so it was Wrangler jeans. So Wrangler jeans have been around for forever, and the quality of them have been, unmatched, for shit, I think like 60, 80 years. So yeah, tight jeans when I was rodeoing, and, the khaki shorts and the, nice dress jeans when I was up there in Hyannis and on the Cape. But yeah, and then you're talking about Taylor. What was her first name? Megan Taylor. Megan Taylor, is that right? No, Megan Fox. Yeah, I don't know. Definitely not Transformers. Absolutely not. Thanks, guys. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, so you know exactly. I was just in Hyannis a couple weeks, July like 9th, 10th, around there. So yeah, I spend a lot of my time down there. That's kind of my getaway. So it's like people in the city in New York, they go to the Jersey Shore. People in my area, we go to the Cape. So same kind of situation. I'm gonna put a picture up of what my closet generally looks like. Some of you have seen this pic, and it's just the way to be around here. So I'll work on that. You guys grab a mic. So we're gonna. This is fun talking about this too, because I might buy some AEO stock tomorrow. The market's closed now, but tomorrow maybe I'll just put down a couple $100. It's about, like I said, $11 a share. Let me just play around with it, see where it goes. Buy 20 shares or whatever, and just it looks like it's not going to be a meme stock as much as people are trying to make it that way, like GameStop and Jesus, what was the AMC? We're not going to be doing that, but I'll try.
Blockbuster.
Oh yeah, anything like that. By the way, that's what got us into this financial mess, was those pump and dump meme stocks. People think that this is the winter of 2022 and 2023 around here, and it's not. What President Trump is doing is making a solid stock market. Now, listen, guys, I will never give you financial advice, because only you know what to do with your money. And I'm far from the most savvy investor, for sure. But I have to tell you, I can't imagine, like, if you're a self-employed person that invests outside of your work's retirement or whatever, mutual fund. I mean, I don't know. I don't know anybody who's lost money just since like February. I mean, some stocks have lost half in value, but you know what? They're ones I'm going to sit on for a long time. I've not made huge money, but I've made incremental gains in like uranium, mining, copper, and metal, which is like 70% of what I trade. So I don't buy tech stocks. I don't buy any of that dumb shit like Meta. It's too expensive, too volatile, and I just don't know enough about it. But when you have 1,000 shares of a $3 stock, and you're making 40 or $50 a day, I mean that shit adds up after 6 months, guys. I'm not saying I've made like $50,000 in the last 6 months, but maybe half that. That's not bad for just really not doing a fucking thing. Considering I bought all of these stocks. Well, first of all, they're still not above $20 a share, any of them. And some of them I bought when they were like what they call penny stocks, like some of these mining companies, they were like 37 cents a share at their initial public offering. I mean, they're still only like $3.87, $4. But when you buy 1,000 of them, right at their IPO, you're just, it's long-term money. It's retirement money. It's nothing I'm going to trade out of and spend or reinvest. I'm just going to sit on those till the end of time, basically, type of deal. So we have to think about, let's get back to my original question here. And you guys feel free to weigh in on this. Why exactly is nobody talking about the economy? Now, Ben had a great point that people have, the normies of just, or people who, they're Trump people, but they're not like enthusiastic Trump voters. Ben made a really good point that people kind of just have this expectation that Trump's going to fix Biden's mess, like he fixed Obama's mess, and you would be correct. It's how he's doing it this time, I think, that is, for me, as a guy who enjoys this type of thing, spent my whole adult life focusing on it. It's how he's doing it, guys. Like, again, those trade deals, guys, you look at them, they're so one-sided in our favor. We haven't had that. And I made the argument, I think yesterday or Sunday, that the EU trade deal, you look at the amount of money, guys, that's being moved from the United Kingdom to the United States. Just look at the brass tacks number of over $500 billion. And then the week before, or earlier in the week, Japan basically gave us $550 billion of free money to invest. And we get 90% of the profit, and they get 10. I mean, guys, that's serious money. In fact, the cumulative number is about 17 trillion in money invested in the United States. Whether it's governments, like the government of Bahrain invested 40 or 50 billion the week before last. Okay, that's not bad for a small country that doesn't have a ton of oil out in that part of the world. So that's pretty good. You had a lot of private investment right out of the chute when Trump got back in office. You had SoftBank in Japan. SoftBank is like as big as Wells Fargo is here in Japan. They own a baseball team. I mean, it's a global company, really. It's Japan's most popular investment bank by far. That's SoftBank. They dumped 400 billion. You had the either the UAE or Qatar dumped 200 or 300 billion apiece when Trump went to the Gulf states in the spring. So I mean, this is a huge amount of money, guys. And you're probably sitting there wondering, why the fuck is this guy? What does this have to do? Well, it's got a lot to do with you, because the money's coming to this country. It's not going to to an American company that's going to take said $500 billion and build factories in Bangladesh and pay people 50 cents a day. That's the other unique part of this. All of these deals are contingent upon foreign countries or foreign companies in foreign countries investing the money in the United States and hiring American workers. If you're Honda or Toyota, it's not good enough that you're just, instead of opening another factory in Japan or Mexico, because the Japanese do build cars, their own cars in Mexico too. They're no dummies, guys. They don't want hegemony just in Japan. They're very happy with slave labor, just like China and just like us. So my point is, it's not good enough that you're opening a Honda plant in Tennessee, in a red state. You can't bring over 500 people from Tokyo to work here. You have to hire 500 white boy rednecks from Hendersonville, Tennessee, or whatever, or Birmingham, Alabama. That's the price they're paying. So you've got American rednecks making Japanese cars in a red state. Oh, geez, that's not going to do anything for the economy. When before that, the pinnacle of jobs down in these small rural southern towns is probably like a Walmart greeter. So you have to. This is what I'm telling you guys. It's their money They're paying us to make their shit, and we're finally getting underemployed people and maybe people who were not cut out for college, and that's fine. I have zero problem with that, by the way. Getting a middle class job that doesn't require a degree, that's not going to put them into debt, and that could be construed as skilled labor, okay, assembly line work, and that's the problem. In the 1990s, we made two terrible decisions. One, we outsourced all of our manufacturing. Okay, NAFTA was the nail in the coffin, but it was happening before that. Your kids' toys were being made in China long before 1994, guys, just so you know. Anyway, you've got that. That was problem number one. Problem number two, which might be the more significant, was that we just became a consumer nation when we didn't need to be. You see, we're not a small country like Montenegro, or I'm trying to think of another small ass country, population wise, and like Montenegro, Albania. These tiny countries, guys, don't have the infrastructure or the manpower to have a Ford factory. Okay, so yes, they have to import a lot of stuff because they don't have the population base or the money. So if there's no money there, there's no capital there. There's no opportunity for these foreign companies to dump cash in these small Euro countries or whatever. We have that, and we still gave it away. Like I said, 1994 was the last nail in the coffin. So I'll get more into that in a minute. So Joyce, you're a new speaker. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I just wanted to also add to what you were saying is what Trump is doing. I don't know if y'all have seen his post on True Social. He's also encouraging the UK to start drilling because so that they don't have to depend on other countries for, their wealth because they got so much underneath their feet. And he's encouraging it. And I'm like, hell yeah, drill, baby, drill. I mean, and there, I know, I don't know his plan, but he is a deal maker and he is just encouraging each country to be able to support their own without relying on other countries like for gasoline and oil and all of this other stuff. And but yeah, I wanted to bring that up because you were talking about all these other countries. We're making money. Yeah, we are. And this last bill, and that they're paying 15% tariffs, and we ain't paying nothing, absolutely nothing. And I just wanted to piggyback on what you were saying is that he's encouraging other countries to make themselves wealthy and do something with their country. I just wanted to say that. All right, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, you're correct. And that was in that, by the way, that Scotland trip we can get into. There were a lot of good sound bites in that. And what Joyce was saying was correct. There's a lot of windmills, guys, in Europe, in Western Europe. I don't know about Eastern Europe, but the UK, France, Germany, that they're on that whole Greta Thunberg green energy shit. And it's really, really too bad because as you saw with the Ukraine-Russia war, Europe really depends on other countries for fossil fuels. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big problem when you can't produce it and you're in a kinetic war and you're financing Ukraine to get slaughtered against Russia and vice. I won't get into that today. I'm tired of talking about that. But anyway, you see my point. We kind of got them over a barrel, and the UK really needs to go back to that. Aberdeen, Scotland is like the Houston, Texas, or the Calgary, Alberta of, in terms of oil, of the UK, that part of Scotland. They have a lot of oil rigs there. So, or they probably have nothing now. So you see, part of the problem is it's self-inflicted wounds here, guys, and it's not good. These windmills are not good. You have to put them obviously near the coast, hence wind, right? And I can tell you, speaking of Cape Cod, I hate that I drive down to my favorite peninsula, and Senator Kennedy, Ted Kennedy from Massachusetts, was one of the first politicians to really push these windmills about 20 years ago. And I was still living in Massachusetts at the time. And they were going up everywhere, like everywhere, all around the Massachusetts coast. And President Trump is correct. They kill maritime avian life. And many of you don't care that seagulls are getting killed. But I mean, guys, they're part of the ecosystem. Okay. Just like the great white shark. So we can't kill them all. They do eat a lot of trash and shit and other small things. Everything has a place in God's ecosystem, you see? So, and what's worse is I can't explain it too well because I'm not a guy of science, so to speak. But the sonic disruption they cause in the Atlantic Ocean is affecting the whales. And when whales, it's like nails on a chalkboard to them, the windmill grinding, right? And they're very noise sensitive, right? Whales. If it becomes intolerable for them, they beach themselves. They commit suicide. That's also not good, guys. That our whales are killing themselves. Windmills are a threat to, first of all, they look terrible. Second of all, they don't generate enough power to be worth a fuck. And third, they're killing maritime life. And not, many of you don't
And
care about that, but you should care. Yeah, good.
let me piggyback off that. Absolutely. And when everybody's like, "Oh, this clean new deal," we got to go everything clean. But do you realize what these windmills do? They say, "Oh, we got to go everything clean," but if they're run on diesel, and if they break those like fan blades or whatever you want to call them, I don't know what they are, you cannot get rid of them. You can't bury them. You cannot get rid of them because they don't break down. They will totally ruin the ground and the soil wherever they built bury them at. You can't. You just cannot. That's another thing that it just blows my mind away, that they want to put all this clean new windmills up everywhere. I remember going to Colorado. Me and my husband went to Colorado a few years back, and there was miles and miles and miles of beautiful country that was just totally just it was uglified because you had these windmills everywhere. I was like, man, that is just so ugly. And yeah, I had to say that because you were talking about them. I'm sorry. Not sorry, but yeah.
No, it's all good. It's all that is correct. They're inefficient and they're not cheap either. And salt air, I can tell you guys, there's a reason why I don't have brass hardware on my front door or brass light fixtures on the exterior of my house, because I have, plastic, because salt air eats metal. Another reason why we don't have natural gas here on the coast is because black iron pipe, no matter what you paint it with, will rust when your front yard is the Atlantic Ocean, is mine. Well, the sand in front of my house is the Atlantic Ocean. So the salt air, it's good for the human body. It's not so good for any sort of dissimilar metal, brass, copper.
Your vehicles, I'm from Florida, underneath your vehicles, you drive on the beach, go down to Daytona, Cocoa Beach, St. Augustine, all anywhere, on the East Coast, and you drive on it's going to deteriorate all of your undercarriage of your vehicle. It just eats away at it.
Let's get a house on the beach, they said. Right?
I know,
So,
it'll be not lovely.
So if you buy a car, though, that's a good point you made. If you buy a car, like if you're getting one online or whatever, and you live up north or near the ocean, it could be down in coastal Carolina. But if you're in Myrtle Beach on the ocean, and you're buying get a car from a dealership like in Kansas, where there's no salt air and it's never been exposed to harsh winters. It'll last longer when you're on the coast. This is why I buy a new truck every 3 years for a lot of reasons. All right, a lot of hands up. We're gonna go. I'll try and remember the order here. I think Jim was next.
Yeah, talking about I think it was Pam talking about the drilling and the oils and stuff like that. So the area I live in, yeah, Houston is like the major hub for any kind of oil production, any kind of fuel production. There's a little town really out in the middle of nowhere that they are building a biofuels facility. And what it is they're going to take because you're in construction, you're a plumber, so new construction, 99% of the walls, unless it's a custom made house, are made out of pine. Pine 2x4s, 2x6s, whatever. So when they cut that tree down and they run it through the sawmill for that timber, they have all the chipped wood and sawdust basically. So what this plant is going to be doing over here is going to be taking and pressing the what is that oil that comes out of pines? The sap basically, but it's like creosote. They're going to take that and turn it into a biofuel and turn that into diesel fuel and jet fuel and high octane fuel. That's going to create, and that just happened in the last 3 months. They shut down a lumber production facility to turn it into a biofuels facility. That's only happened within the last 3 months or so. The only reason I know that is because our company tried to bid the geo on the project. So, but it's going to employ almost 1,000 people in an area where the population is 2,000 and some change. You were talking about that with New Smyrna, Tennessee, and where they make the Hondas and stuff. These good old boys are just coming out of nowhere. The woods basically to work at an assembly plant. Same with this facility. It's gonna provide almost 1,000 jobs. And the people that are developing this are, from my understanding, are from Saudi Arabia. So I don't know if that has something to do with the tariffs and them trying to, include production here. I don't know, but I thought it was pretty cool that was happening.
Yeah, exactly. I do too. Yeah, like you said, everything I've seen thus far in terms of the rollout and what the plans are, regardless of the industry, I'm pretty pumped about. There's no doubt. Again, it's the way Trump is rebuilding this economy, guys, and I like the TDS, the tariff derangement syndrome. And guys, I wasn't having arguments with Democrats. I expect that from them because they're just anti-Trump, regardless of the subject matter. As I've said, I've gotten more pushback from Republicans on this app than I don't really either Democrats have me blocked or I don't interact with them. There are a lot of economically illiterate Republicans on this app, and they're not rhinos, they're not Lincoln Project, they're not DeSimps, they're MAGA people. I think a lot of people were indoctrinated with Reagan. It's an assembly line of platitudes. Reagan conservatism, free market conservatism, tariffs are a tax passed on to the consumer. I just have a different way of thinking, and I've never considered myself a conservative because I don't look like a conservative person. The past habits of my life don't dictate that I was a conservative, etc. So recreational drug use and all that, it doesn't speak to a conservative person. And I finally, everything clicked for me about 9 months ago, right before the election. I think I'm more of just a populist guy, and I actually do like the way the country was run in the 1890s and the early 20th century when we were, and by the way, when we were the richest guys after the Spanish-American War, which was roughly 1898, we were sitting on top of the world. Yeah, I don't get. You know what free markets give you guys? It gives you China. It gives you Walmart. It gives you slave labor in third world shithole countries. you got to remember this talk about Reagan conservatism. Now, I do respect him, and I think he was a populist in terms of his messaging, in terms of having pride in this country and standing up to all that stuff is good. But a lot of people forget who his vice president was, and that was the globalist, George Bush Sr. And you saw like inklings of this in Reagan's second. I mean, I was in elementary school, but in junior high, but in Reagan's second term, you could see that the talons were the tentacles of Bush were, Iran Contra. You had the stock market crash in 1987. Basically, everything after the Challenger disaster in the, I believe it was the spring of '86. Everything after that, a lot of what Reagan did went to shit. And what saved his ass was the Berlin Wall going down. Just, I think that was '89. So right after he got out of office. But that's really what saved his legacy, because if it was not for the Berlin Wall going down in 1989, you would be talking about Iran Contra. And that would be Iran Contra was almost as bad as the Afghanistan withdrawal, because it really took the innocence away from the United States as a military entity. Not in my eyes, because but I'm a patriotic guy. I support the military, even if the mission is suspect. How could I not? My father was deployed at that time. So, in fact, he was stationed in West Germany. He went there twice, once in 1979 and then again in 1986. So I'm supportive of the mission, but it got people who didn't know a lot and just were thinking about World War II and stuff like that, and the bravery of our armed services at that time. It got them to question things. Oliver North got them to question things. And I attribute all of this to George Bush Sr. corrupting the Reagan administration from a diplomatic, from an international perspective, arming the rebels and stuff like that, and just the mess. And you could say, well, that's just naivete because our government was always doing it. Probably, guys. But you know what? The veil came off for a lot of what we would call normies back then, around the mid 1980s. And people are like, okay, all right, remember how people's mindset was back then. Okay, Vietnam, I thought, was a waste of young men's lives, but I supported the mission. And obviously, I wanted to stop the flow of communism. There was a reason, even if you were against the war, they were able to communicate why we were there, right? You had Walter Cronkite on the news every night, praising what the boys were doing and blah, 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 and for good reason, okay? They didn't give them a chance to win that war. That was the politicians' fault. They weren't interested in winning. They were interested in not being in the public relations of it. That's my opinion, not necessarily your opinion. But really, the mask came off in the mid 1980s, and we were getting involved in these, black ops, unsavory things that were not, did nothing for the Republic guys, and it got people to distrust many of the non-corrupt people in our military. It took a couple of bad apples to change that perspective. So I'll just leave that there. You guys can comment on it if you want. This is just one man's opinion, not yours. Look up in the nest, guys. I've showed this to many of you, but that is essentially my closet this time of year that we're talking about clothes here and there. That is Vineyard Vines. Many of you would call that white boy summer, because they tend to be a little bit on the crispy side this time of year. I call it bronze boy summer, but that is basically all my leisure attire right there. I've got about 20 combinations of that right there. I've spent a fortune in that store. And a tie is $100 in there. For me, that's a lot of money. I usually don't spend $100 on a tie, but it's a Vineyard Vines tie, and it's 20 years old, and I don't want to get rid of it. It's my favorite tie. All right, I don't wear suits very often, so I don't have like 15 ties. So that's that situation, guys. Back to the tariffs. Feel free to grab a mic. Just, we don't have to do hands if you don't want to, but that's up to you. Not, I don't give a shit either way. Let's look at I got one more thing to put up in the nest. If I could find it here. I think this is very useful information for you if you've not seen it. So you've got Scott Bessent there. I think he's on MSLSD. He's saying the momentum on trade is with the United States. We continue to make progress in talks with Chinese officials while already having secured trade deal frameworks with several of China's largest trading partners, including the EU, Japan, Indonesia, and Vietnam. So the reason I wanted to put that up there is because of the fact that this is death of a thousand cuts to China. All these trade deals. And a couple of you asked me in the DMs, which I'll after the speakers go, I'll weigh in. People basically want a list. I had a couple ladies, you know who you are. Thank you for sending me that question. And you take a mic, it's up to you. We could talk about it back and forth, but they want to know my predictions as to what countries will sign a trade deal by the August 1st deadline and which ones won't. So I'll address that in a minute, but we'll go. Todd, you haven't spoken yet, then we'll go back to Janet, okay?
Hey, everybody. I wanted to just comment on real quick on the windmills. I don't know if a lot of you might have seen my post last week. I was in California for the week, and on my way from Palm Springs to Santa Monica, I passed the windmill farm and took a picture, and it was just so heartbreaking because you've got these beautiful mountains, and the windmill farm is right at the foot of the mountains, so you have to kind of look through the windmills to see the mountains. It's just so ridiculous. And what no one's has talked about is the solar farms. So as we got past going from Santa Monica past Palm Springs towards Phoenix again, we hit the solar farms, and I mean they stretch for miles. These solar panels that are just in this beautiful fertile land. And I mean, literally for miles. It's kind of cool in a way because it sort of looks like a lake when you're on the freeway. It's kind of like a mirage. So it's not particularly ugly, depending on the angle you look at it, but it's just sad to think of how many, I can't imagine how many thousands and thousands of acres it just goes for miles, these solar panels. And I don't know. It wasn't a pretty sight, but also I wanted to mention on the economy. You said people are talking about the economy, and I wasn't quite sure what the context of that question was. But for me, I just think that maybe the Republicans aren't touting it so much is because things are still really expensive. I mean, here in Phoenix, Scottsdale, we're still paying almost $4, $3.75, I'd say, per gallon of gas. I just bought 2 New York steaks at Sprouts last night. It was $30-some. The eggs are, not as high, but I think I bought a couple dozen eggs. It was like $13, $14 the other day. So yeah, things are still really, really pricey. And so people are still struggling, and that's probably why they're not touting the economy as much as they probably will in 6 months when things hopefully will start coming down.
That's interesting, Todd, because I think Gemini was telling me the same thing, that Arizona just perpetually has high gas prices, similar to, not as bad as California, but in that, because I filled up today. Now I went to a gas station right off the highway because I was running low. So this is not my usual place, but there was a mobile where I was paying $2.89 for a regular, and I would say that was about 10 cents higher than I pay in my town. At the we have Irving's near my house, so that's interesting. Now, as far as the eggs are really, you said eggs was $12 for a dozen?
No, it was two. It was like 2 dozen. It was probably about $13, $14, $6.99 for a dozen. Of course, I buy the organic cage free, so they're a little more pricier. You can get the regular ones, and there's still probably around $4 or $5. But yeah, I mean, just for me to go to get 2 steaks and some eggs yesterday, it was over $50 at Sprouts. And I just filled up my car yesterday for $3.74 a gallon for my truck.
That's like $1 more than where I am. Anywhere, maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm in a small state in a tiny area. You think that there's very few gas stations, near my. You got to go 5-8 miles to go to like a main drag. Well, there'll be a lot of them from where I live, but geez, that's high.
But in
Almost
LA,
$4.
I was surprised at the price of gas there. I when I was there maybe a year ago, it was in the fives, sometimes $6 for a gallon. But it was you could get a gallon of gas of some of the places like 4.25, 4.30, which for them is pretty cheap. I mean, if you're in Beverly Hills, you're going to pay 4.50, 4.60, but yeah, so it's still pricey out there in a lot of places. I don't know how you guys get $2 and something a gallon gas. It's so unfair, and we're paying so much more out in Arizona. But it is what it is.
Well, it's because we freeze our ass off in the winter. I think that's the silver lining to living out here. Maybe that's the other thing is too. Even though I'm in a small state in a town of 4,800 people, everybody has cars here. So that's another thing too. I mean, you can't not have a car living on the coast. I mean, if you're not putting money in your car, if you're not filling your car up with gas, you're filling your boat up with fuel. So I mean, there's no way around. We're very isolated here, and people are nomadic, and they don't like to be stuck at home. I guess maybe.
The other
But,
thing that's gone up
yeah.
is electricity. I don't know how her utility bill is, but my utility bill this summer is the highest it's ever been. And I live in the same place I've lived for 21 years. So the utility rates for electricity is definitely gone up.
Yeah, I've heard, but for me, it's the same states that I hear have high prices: New York, New Jersey, California, I guess Arizona. That's not fair, but I mean, it's at least the smaller states that have small populations, they seem to be going down in gas. And New Hampshire is actually the most expensive state for utilities because we actually have more propane and oil houses. We don't have nice, fancy natural gas underground like some of the bigger states do. So we're paying a lot because I have propane that's got to get delivered by a truck. I don't have a nice, fancy fucking meter outside my house where just the natural gas is a lot cheaper than propane, generally speaking. And don't even get me started on oil. So we're paying, basically a delivery fee, which at times supersedes the actual, because they give you the breakdown in your bill. It's the price you pay for living on the ocean. It's a good trade-off for me, but I understand how that can handicap people's budget. But lastly, Ton, about those solar panels, just like the windmills. Now, I don't know because I don't live in a Sunbelt state, but I heard a guy on here who I think was in Nevada or Arizona or New Mexico, somewhere down there. And he was very anti-solar panel for a million reasons. But he did mention that the grass underneath the solar panels, if they put them in an acreage that had grass, and when they've had to remove them after several years or take them down to modify them or make a repair, that the grass it's basically dirt, sand, and it never goes back to grass again. Because they make the attempt to try and grow it back in the interim. They can't sod it or anything. Maybe they put AstroTurf down so it blends in. But that's another downside. When you take sun away from any sort of plant life or vegetation, even grass, it may not come back. I mean, that's like the life for everything on Earth. So that's another reason why I'm not such a big fan of solar panels at all. Except if you want to put them on your house and you live in a state like Arizona, like Florida, where you get a lot of sunshine. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I understand why people do that. I get it. You're perpetually in the sun all day. They're not really practical where I am because, we don't get the amount of sun, obviously, that the southwestern part of the United States does. So it's not really optimal here to have solar panels. Anyway, good stuff, everybody. Janet, go ahead.
Yeah, I chime in for a second on the solar panels. When they go for miles and a bird flies over them, they die. It fries them, basically. So they get damaged from lots of birds that fall onto them. And eagles and hawks and pelicans and other birds are killed by the windmills. So, yeah, to me, it's not worth it. I mean, it really isn't. The amount of work it takes to, oops.
Sorry, my fault. Fat
It's
Tommy.
okay. The amount of work it takes to keep them running, and every single one that's built, whether it's a solar panel or a windmill farm, they're all subsidized by tax dollars. I don't even think they'd even build them if they weren't subsidized, because it doesn't make money. Okay. I had Marlon on one of my shows on Thursday night, and that's what he talked about. He talked about just one particular company near where he lived, and how much money they were paying just to subsidize these people. So without subsidies, I just don't even see any of them even making a profit. Just like we did with Solyndra. We know how that turned out. But what I was going to chime in on was from earlier, what Joyce had brought up. And the thing with Trump that I absolutely love about him, and that he started in the first time he was president, is the fact that he encourages us to want our country to be successful without help from other countries. Okay, to be self-sustainable as possible. And he encourages other countries to do that, that every country should look at themselves, my country first, my people first. And if all the countries all started doing that and working on what they were able to provide the best for their country, and to make money for their country, to selling the leftovers to other countries, just think about how much better all of us would be when each of us took responsibility for our people and for supplying what they need to the people. So to me, everything that Trump does, when he does any of those things, encourages me to support Trump even more. So all these people that just hate him, they just don't like him. I don't know why, because I don't understand anyone that wouldn't encourage others to do things for themselves and try to be beneficial to others by being better. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just don't understand it. I just wanted to chime in on that. Thank you for letting me speak again.
You're welcome. No problem. Yeah, I guess this is interesting that people are seeing different things. But again, I'm going to stress, not because it proves my point or disproves what you're telling me. I think this is a regional issue. I think cost of living has gone down in the smaller states, and inflation. We did have Bidenflation, and it's definitely gone down. People I listen to that live in New York on this app, they still haven't seen any modification in their expenses. My property tax is my highest bill. That's all I got. I'm paying, like I said, $2.70 for a gallon of gas here. I don't know, guys. Maybe that's God's way of telling you it's time to move. I could tell you that the situation in the small states is, because I'm around a lot of them, is much better. I'm seeing more money spent. I'm not, I don't see myself spending a lot of money at the grocery store right now, like I have maybe last year. I'm definitely seeing a decrease in that. We'll see. Appreciate everybody sharing today too. So we'll go to MS, and then looks like Sunny dropped and came back. We'll go to MS then to Sunny. Okay.
Hey, Gads, how's it going? Hey, everybody. Good to see you guys. Yeah, I just came in on the tail end of what Todd was talking about. Yeah, gas here is still in the Central Valley, $4.56 a gallon for regular, $5.03 for premium. Eggs at Costco for the organic ones, like Todd's talking about, I think are $8.99 for 18 pack. We're seeing some things come down, but it's just we live in the blue state. It's just, I just think you're right. The smaller the state, the better. The more red, the better. I'm actually looking, seriously looking about around to other states, possibly to move, maybe Idaho. Going to check that out here in the next, couple months. But again, the solar panel thing, like you talk about, I get that. I hate solar, but I did buy it for my house, because if I did not, us in California are paying $800 to $1,000 a month for electricity during the summertime. I mean, it's ridiculous what they do to us here. So, yeah, it's just California, and it sucks. And so, but yeah, that's all I got. But thanks, Gads, for letting me speak.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I trust me, guys. In the bigger states, the blue states, I sympathize totally. I mean, I lived in I lived in Massachusetts half my life. I still own a house there. I get it. Trust me. I understand the bureaucracy, the high cost. I'm still paying taxes on a house I don't even live in right now. So believe me, I get it. So I understand that plight, but I do think that a lot of people, first of all, it's tough to move. Home is where the heart, where the heart is, et cetera, et cetera. I understand all that. I think it's really, really tough for people to move to, I'll be honest, colder states. A lot, we've seen, you guys heard me bitching for 2 years about everybody moving to Florida and shit like that. And there was a reason I did that, guys, because you can't you can't have that much of a population increase in one state and not expect. Now look at the housing market. And by the way, Florida was well ahead of the curve in having a housing crisis, affordability crisis, et cetera. I told you guys this 3 years ago when I first started doing these, when I was on here bitching about DeSantis all the time. I told you guys about Florida. Okay. Nobody wanted to hear it. They were just all happy they escaped New Jersey or Massachusetts and New York, and I'm fine with that. But I feel very vindicated about it, guys, because I only talk about the shit I know about, and I pay really close attention to this. All right, and I've got to tell you, when my father, who's a millionaire, won't buy a place in Florida, a guy whose opinion on real estate I trust more than anybody, there's a fucking problem down there. And it's not an affordability thing for him. He doesn't believe in supply and demand on a macro or a micro level. He just says, no, that house is not worth, not even house, that townhouse or condo is not worth $750,000. I agree that there's stupid people that will pay that, but you can't dictate the real estate market, guys, in desirable states based off of 1%ers who are not affected by the economy, that have recession-proof lives or recession-proof lifestyles. That's who's moving to Florida. It was wealthy people from the Northeast. That economy, guys, is so tied into northern money right now that as soon as these rich people don't want to pay the same amount of property tax they were paying in New Jersey, or as soon as these people in Jupiter and West Palm Beach don't want to pay like $700 a month HOA fees, they're going to be fucking gone, because they're in a position where they don't have to spend their money. Other people there are married to, they put everything into their house, and they overpaid for it in the first place. And sadly, I don't want to say they're upside down, but they're not making enough to cover their expenses. When you have to work 2 jobs to pay your mortgage, to say nothing about anything else, it's over. You're cooked. It's over, guys. And DeSantis should have put in this is why he's talking about cutting property tax, because he knows he's going to lose probably 30% of the people that moved there during COVID, of rich people, and et cetera. I'll get to the speakers, I promise. I just want to emphasize this point, guys. He's going to have a mass layoff, basically the equivalent of a layoff there. And there's going to be a lot of houses on the market and not enough buyers, and way too many builders, way too many real estate people. Not everybody in Florida that develops multifamily property is Grant Cardone, guys. A lot of people that put everything they had into that shit, and it's not going to come to fruition. I've seen it a million times, up here and down there. It's the cycle of real estate. But when Florida is so beholden to northern money, you're going to have a problem. Nobody wanted to hear it. It was all make America Florida. Well, should have listened to me. All right. Margo, you got your hand up. Go ahead. How are you?
Good. How are you? I love
Pretty
it when
good.
you have a space because we talk about real money. And I always think about like what my parents who were in the 80s buying houses and raising kids, putting kids through college. I'll never forget my mom saying, this house has a 19% mortgage on it in 1980. 19% mortgage rate. That and the unemployment rate was like almost 8%. People think that the 80s were awesome. They were hard as hell. The inflation was terrible. I mean, when people made it through the 80s, that's like it was almost like the depression, very close to it. And it was hard. But people forget that when they talk about Reagan. They forget what he said when he came in office and said, "We're going to have a tough few years." And people now, and I'm not putting anybody down, because if you didn't live through the 80s, you wouldn't know this. But a lot of young people now think that they're having a hard time, and they are, because housing prices are high. I'll give them that. But they always compare themselves or say things like, "You boomers, you this, you that." First of all, I'm on the cusp. I'm a Gen Xer, but to hear my parents talk about buying a house with a 19% mortgage, can you even imagine, Gads?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what it was like in the 70s during the Carter years when you had
Carter did it all.
inflation. Yeah. Now you know, Margot, and everybody else, and Stephanie, I'll get to you next when Margot's done. I skipped over you. I'm sorry. Uh, now you know why Trump is obsessing about Powell, because he's sabotaging the economy right now. Like there's no evidence right now, and we have 2 quarters. That's 6 months for those of you who aren't initiated. We have 2 quarters of proof. First of all, there's never been a time in American history that $17 trillion has been invested in a 6-month tenure of a president. So let's just put that aside. Jay Powell has no evidence, or he can't even make the argument that there's the potential of inflation right now. He can't, because there's too much capital. I mean, who is opening businesses is SoftBank, which is a global company, a global bank located in Japan. They're not investing $500 billion into any place in Europe or any place, even Dubai. And they have the money to do it, guys. Why are they coming to the United States? Because it's been so deregulated. So deregulated, where it just makes it easy for businesses to operate and not have the government up their ass. That's
Yeah,
why they're here.
I
Yes,
just
go ahead.
remember like Reagan coming in. I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember him coming in and telling the world, "Look, we've got a hard few years coming because of Jimmy Carter." And I also remember, the one thing I remember most was when he told those air traffic controllers, "I don't give a shit if you walk. I'm going to break this union if that's what I have to do." Reagan really set the tone for how this country needed to operate. He was truthful, and Trump is a lot like that. And I understand why he's pissed off. I'm pissed off for young people. I think anybody who gets out of college and can't get a job because they were sold some bill of goods that they have to go to college and get a loan to go to college. Because I got to say, that's one thing about the 80s. Most of us worked our way through college, or we went to a semester cost us. I mean, I can tell you, a semester at West Virginia University was $649 for 12 hours or more. I mean, the tuition wasn't the same, loan rates weren't the same. No kid went in debt for college unless they were going to medical school. They just didn't do that. They worked their way through it. They got a Pell Grant. They did anything they could. And it's just hard to watch people that they want to do better, but they don't know better, and that's the difference in some respects. And it's interesting, Gads. I know, if you don't know, I had a bunch of pool work done. I had a whole new fiberglass bottom put in my pool this past week, and I had 2 young 18-year-old young men who worked their asses off. I was so impressed with them. But talking to them about the real world, because like what they do, these kids make 100 grand right out of high school, right out of high school doing this job. And the first thing they want to do is buy a new truck. Like, I don't blame them, but that's not what I would do. And I told him that. And I was like, "You see that Porsche? I didn't buy it new. You see that Tesla? I didn't buy it new. Don't buy a new anything." I don't know why parents and people don't teach young people how to save and how to make a good decision. And I'm not knocking them. It's just hard to believe that, you have to help them, and you got to do it in a way that you don't sound like a know-it-all. You sound like you're trying to really make good financial decisions. It's just really, it's hard. It's hard, Gads. I got to say that.
Margo, I sound like a know-it-all when I talk to young guys on the job site, because I would say middle-aged guy to young man, I think they respond to that better. You have to basically tell them they're a fucking idiot and that they're wasting their money paying rent and all wasting their time paying rent and all that. That's just that for me. That's my personal like testimony on it. Just being direct with those type of guys is better. Like, they always have to say, "Oh, I'm just doing this temporarily till I find something else." I go, "Why? You're working in the wealthiest town in the state of New Hampshire, the wealthiest county, where there's a labor deficit, where nobody cuts their own grass. Why the fuck would you go to college?" And I know they're making $35 to $50 an hour as a laborer. I mean, and they're living at home. What bills do they have? How can they even think about giving a college money? I said, "You guys are insane." I left a cushy job. I mean, I was always handy. I was destined for this. But I'm just saying, like, why would you do that? Like, when I tell them I went to college and my father went to college, their jaws are on the ground. My father and I, well, he's retired now, but we had a partnership from 2013 to 2022. We were the only father and son college graduates in the renovation business in our area. Like, that's very, very rare that you had two guys that went to college, have degrees and all that, and are doing what we do. It's just not common anywhere. So I have that like story behind me to tell them. But that's good that you talk to these young men and that they're working hard, because guys, we have a labor deficit. We have way too many kids in college, and we have way too many adults that are paying people to do things they should do. I can't handle the work I have. I'll never be ahead of the game. I'm only going to be on top of my jobs right now. And I'm good with that, but not every guy can do this. Not everybody can manage the stress. It's hard. So this is in California. We don't have Mexicans at Home Depot waiting to get picked up. I mean, I've got fucking if I showed you what I did for work today, you guys would either throw up or be like, that's when I would just quit. But who else is going to do it? Right? Yeah, Margo, go ahead, finish up. Good.
No, I really appreciate, I try to have conversations on their level. Like, the one kid got a speeding ticket, and I just flat out I'm just going to tell the story because I think it's funny. He's like 18 years old. This kid just graduated from high school. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm just going to pay the ticket." I'm like, "No, you're not. You're going to go get a lawyer, and you're going to have the lawyer get you out of that ticket." And he looked at me like, "Why would I do that?" And I'm like, "Because you don't want the points on your driver's license because you're 18. And he looked at me. I'm like, "You want a new truck, and you don't want to pay. You want to pay the ticket?" Like, they don't know the experiences that you have to help them make better decisions. And that's the wisdom that you give them in the way that you can. Of course, I did it my way, and mine is different than yours, Gads. But they finally got it because they don't. I don't know if it's because they don't have the lived experience, or they don't think it through, or they just don't know. But the point I always try to make to them is there are better ways to do it, and if you can think of the consequence before you make the decision, it's always going to end up better. Also, I put the picture of what I did to my pool in your DMs.
Oh, take a peek. Yeah, I like seeing people's home improvement projects, interior and exterior. Appreciate it, Margo. Thank you. Good talking to you. Stephanie, thanks for waiting. You go right ahead.
All right, Gads. So yeah, I'm in New York, but I'm on Long Island, and I can't complain. I mean, the gas actually out here, the lowest is 276, and then I don't get regular because I just never did. But even like I get plus or super, which is like 339, and I think the max the super I saw was like maybe 360. So that's not bad. And then I had gotten 18 count of eggs for 409 Meat Farms. I got a pack of the mega sized bacon for 10.99. So I don't know. I guess it depends on, it's like a state by state thing, and depending on maybe how they're playing it. Like I'm saying, I guess per state, because I don't know. I can't complain. I mean, I'm not fucking leaving New York. I mean, despite what everybody thinks of it, I'm also, like I said, I'm on Long Island. It's like a totally different realm, I would say. It should be its own state. I'm just gonna say that because we are bigger population. I think Rhode Island and even Connecticut together. But if that happens, it'd be wonderful. Other than that, yeah, I can't complain. I mean, I think it's just really a state by state issue because I hear there's some people who
God damn it, guys! I'm
That's
sorry.
that thumb. God damn you, Gads.
I know it's been hit with a hammer a few times. It's actually, my left thumb's pretty swollen right now, guys. It's like 2x the size it should be. So I apologize for that. Good. Sorry, man.
No, it's all right. No, I was gonna say, I mean, I think it just depends on where you are. I mean, how people are pricing things, whether it's by the store, the gas station, like, yeah, everybody's brand, I would say. But I don't know, I really can't complain. The housing is still moving here. Like I said, that's probably because everybody's still moving. So it keeps me busy because I do appraisals. I mean, my investor, he's still buying and flipping houses like crazy. I just did like 7 for him, like I did like what, three this week so far, and like 4 last week, and he's still moving. So he does renovations and he guts them and so forth. So I don't know. I just think it depends on how the states are doing and how they're pricing it, or like I said, however the stores are. But I mean, I could definitely say things are cheaper. My taxes are still the same. They haven't gone up, I'm going to say, yet. Yeah, so I really can't complain about everything else.
But I love fucking with the blue states. You know that. The big ones.
I know you do.
New York, Jersey, Mass. Well, Mass isn't big. It's big population wise, but I love fucking with the blue states. I really do. Like you said, live in a red state, but I have a house in a blue state that I'm paying for. So I can commiserate with that 100%. But so, Stephanie, I should have asked all the women this who've spoken, but we started off talking about Sydney Sweeney. Are you going to buy the jeans? Yes or no?
I really don't wear jeans. I happen to like started wearing between, whether it's sweats, leggings, like the dresses for the summer, and I happen to be wearing a lot of those jumpsuits, those like comfortable ones. So I don't even know the commercial yet to really know what those jeans are. I mean, I saw something, but
Yeah.
that's a girl.
They're the flared ones there, like the
Bell bottom looking ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy those. No, fuck no.
No. Well, I still think she looks good in them, and I think that she's getting a lot of hate for no reason. I'm sure if there was some transgender pig in those jeans, that model would probably be on Jake Tapper's show, 60 Minutes, of course. Absolutely. God forbid you put an attractive person in any sort of marketing. It might offend somebody. It's crazy. This get me off this planet. If Elon wasn't such a fucking dickhead, I would want to get on one of his Falcon rockets. I'd volunteer for the Mars colony. At times, I feel like this planet is cooked. Just with the mentality like that. Okay, I got to go quick, guys, because I've got like 6 minutes here before I have an appointment to pick up my daughter. So I will talk less and you'll talk more. Sonny, I've had trouble keeping you up here. Why don't you go ahead?
Hi. Yeah. So I know somebody that lives next to one of those solar panel fields, and before they signed the contract, they basically, gave it over to him, and he is subsidized living next to it. But it says in the contract that they're having the solar panels for 20 years, but the soil will be depleted of all its nutrients for at least 10 years afterwards. So you still can't plant it to the farmer. And then also the contract had where only the part that actually of the solar panels that touch the soil, the square footage, like the pole, is the only part they're paying him for, the square footage. So those big, huge panels, they're not getting paid for the whole entire field. So they're screwing them over. And solar panels, just the same like the windmills, they're not recyclable. So you have to, and they're not good for the soil either. So what do you do with them after they're done? Because they don't last forever. So that's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Sorry I had a problem keeping you up here. I don't know if it was me or what was going on. Much appreciated. That's all good information that I can verify, guys. I've heard very similar reports. It's a big scam, and it was subsidized heavily during Biden's administration. Fed up. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was funny earlier when you said about not not looking like a conservative. It just reminded me of my first time walking into our local GOP years ago with hair down to my waist. Just happened to be in a tie-dye T-shirt at the time, in my very conservative little southern town. I got some definite looks of, why are you here? And then we started talking, and it was like, oh, I told him the tie-dye was my camouflage for going up into enemy territory. But you know, you were saying about the windmills and the solar panels and that, and that's been such an issue here in North Carolina because probably, I guess, 45 minutes from me is the big Google server farm down in Newton, North Carolina, and 37 acres of solar panels powers that thing. And it is just ridiculous. You go down one of the highways and it's just, you can look off to the side and it's just solar panels, solar panels. It's just disgusting. And it's got, of course, all the problems everybody talks about. And it's the same thing with the windmills. Trump just talked about how it's killing the eagles. It kills the eagles. It kills the whales. They are an absolute cause of what's going on with the whales on the coast. It's so destructive. And then to think about what Janet was saying earlier, they're when they fall, that's the other thing is, like, once they go out of maintenance, eventually they just fall. They start leaking all the fluid, and they're just left to rot. And same with the solar panels. There's that giant solar panel farm. Where is it? Outside of Vegas. That's just a wasteland now. It's disgusting. They've got to do something about this. But it's the reason they're not, to something Janet was saying earlier. None of them care because it doesn't affect their bottom line. Not caring is where they get their money from, because they're subsidized by all these people. It's from the lobbyists. They're getting money from the people that are doing this stuff, and then they're handing that money back off through USAID and various other governmental payoffs. It's just a cycle of money going in one and out the other, and it's coming out of our pockets and going to people in Congress, people in the Senate, and into these disgusting businesses.
Exactly. And I have noticed less of that because this door-to-door soliciting in my old neighborhood, we still have the Ring doorbell on there. And I stopped following it a long time ago. We haven't lived there in almost a decade, but we're getting less and less of the door-to-door. Do you want solar panels? This isn't down in northern Massachusetts. It's like, it's still a hotbed for liberalism and houses that have solar panels. And there's been less and less of that since Trump got elected. And I think, despite the lies about the one big beautiful bill, now one big beautiful law, I do believe that the subsidies for renewables were cut. Here's the thing. You have to take the time to read the entire bill. I myself have only read 175 pages of the fact sheets that the House Ways and Means Committee put out. I haven't read a fraction of that entire bill. So when you hear people saying Trump didn't take out the renewables or the green new energy stuff, you need to ask them to prove that. Because I don't believe just like with all legislation, nobody reads the fucking thing. So nobody knows. It's all people pulling. Even if you think like me, I could be pulling it out of my ass too. But nobody reads these bills cover to cover. So the host or person commenting can say what they want, and if they have sycophants in said Twitter space, nobody will check them on that. And you should be fact checking me, and you should be fact checking other people. So because I don't care to read the entire bill because it's a law now, so it doesn't matter. The fact that I have less people showing up at my blue state house asking if I want solar panels leads me to believe they've cut the funding in some area. Because, guys, it was like 2 or 3 a week for like 3 years down there. I have all the Ring doorbell footage. Okay, they were there more frequently than my neighbor's Amazon driver. okay, across the street in that town. So I don't believe that Trump didn't not cut the green energy slash renewables in the federal budget. I do not believe the federal government is subsidizing it to the degree that Biden was. How do I know that? Not because I read the bill, but guess what? Everybody else didn't read it either. But I give it what they call the eyeball test. Because when you go from the summer of 2024 to getting 3 knocks a week to fucking 0 in the summer of 2025, that leads me to believe, guys, that they're not getting any federal handouts anymore. So there you go. I applied logic. I didn't need to read the bill. I used the eyeball test and the logical deduction test. Do you see? God gave us these nice, beautiful brains, guys. Let's start using them. Oh, not anybody in here. I'm just speaking in generalities here to be antagonistic. Thank you for waiting, Texas. You're going to be the last speaker.
Thank you. MS66 had her hand up before me.
I'll try and get her in too. Go ahead quickly, ma'am. I only got a
Okay.
minute or two. I'd like to hear you speaking.
I just wanted to say I put in the pill and up top one thing on how dirty energy the solar is, and plus you guys never even once mentioned the lithium battery storage sites. We're getting bombarded with both them and the windmills and the solar and everything in Texas. So I put some pictures of that stuff up there. And they're all owned by China. They're all made in China. And I put a China logo that I took off one of the batteries because I'm a security guard here. I thought we were building a truck stop, but no, it's a lithium battery storage site. Lucky me. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for waiting too. Yeah, lithium batteries. Didn't even think about that. So it's very important, friends, that I think we are kind of off that agenda. Maybe not to the extent that the hardliners want, and I consider myself a hardliner. I think many of you do. I think we could all say that we're okay with people who want renewable energy for their house. It shouldn't be mandated and it shouldn't be subsidized. Okay, if I got to, um, if I have to spend X amount of dollars to put an oil fired boiler or a gas powered boiler in my house, then and I don't get any rebate because it's a fossil fuel, because it's, in theory, it's gas powered or oil powered, right? Then why are people getting subsidies and rebates from the utility company to put ugly fucking solar panels on their house? Their lifestyle should not be treated better than mine just because it's quote unquote clean. Okay, so it might not be a fossil fuel, but seeing those panels on a neighbor's roof, it makes the neighborhood look like ass, guys. That's just my opinion. I don't like the way they look. But again, I don't live in Arizona or Nevada or New Mexico or Texas, where I think it's logical. Maybe if I lived in the Southwest in the desert, I would opt to get panels. But they don't look good here on the ocean, guys, in the Northeast. First of all, they don't go with the neighborhoods here, right? So aesthetically, they look terrible. And number two, I don't see the cost savings there. And number three, there's nothing better than propane. That's my opinion, not yours. But I love propane for heat. I think it's great. I don't like renewables and I don't like oil. But that's just again one man's opinion. I don't know if MS dropped, but it looks like she did. I'm sorry I didn't circle back with her, but you guys have a wonderful night. I don't often get to do spaces at night, but I'm happy I did today. And I hope you got something out of this. It's recorded, so if you missed the beginning, it was all Sydney Sweeney, all the time. Talked about American Eagle and talked about these tariffs. And just to recap, again, it's this first post in the nest, guys. 150 billion in tariff revenue that we've accumulated just these first 6 months and a bit. And we weren't even collecting them, I don't think, until, well, normal tariffs in February, but the rates changed in April. This is real money here, guys. This is what you got to understand here. This is why Trump doesn't have to mess with entitlements like Social Security and Medicare. Okay. This is why the whole conversation about, why Elon was so butthurt that the one big beautiful bill didn't cut enough. Well, and I know the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, and what they can't calculate tariff revenue because it's not a static amount. It varies. I understand that. But when it's this amount of money, guys, and we could be looking at maybe next year in 2026 when all these trade deals are settled, we could be looking at possibly $500 billion in tariff revenue in a calendar year. Then why are we relying on Congress that is compromised and leveraged by donors and lobbyists to create legislation? If you have trade deals in place, guys, that's a contract. That's like passing an appropriations bill that has spending cuts in it that are good enough for Elon Musk, Mr. South African apartheid dude. So, again, think about it. Not everything has to be done by Congress. I know that makes people sleep better at night, but this is real money coming in. We don't need to talk about cutting Medicare. We don't need to talk about tax raises on people like Mark Cuban and the 1%ers. What we're getting in is superseding any sort of money that would bring in. So this is all really new for people, and they don't understand it. They don't think it's reliable long-term base of income for the country, or they're skeptical about it, but they want it applied to debt. I'm okay with that. Earmark it for the debt, guys, but you can't deny the vast amount of money that these tariffs are bringing in. And when your $20 item on Amazon in November of 2024 is still $20 in August of 2025, you have no argument that this is causing inflation. You simply don't like it. It's like some people don't like Ford and they like GM, like me. Some people like chocolate and some people like vanilla. Some people like renewable energy. Some people like fossil fuel. I don't know what to tell you guys, but these tariffs aren't going away. This isn't a novelty or a gimmick by Trump. This is a substantial amount of money that's going into our treasury, guys. Now, if they squander the money, that's a different story. I'd like it earmarked for debt. But these tariffs are here again. Break out of this matrix about Reagan conservatism and free markets are the best markets. Free markets are China and Walmart, okay? And Reagan conservatism is Iran-Contra and the stock market crash of 1987. And having a globalist like George Bush be your vice president and then your successor. Okay, that's Reagan conservatism. All right. I'm not being fair, but I don't care. That's my opinion on it. It doesn't have to be yours. So populism. Please study the administration of William McKinley. Please study the amount of wealth that this country had in the 1890s and the early 20th century under William McKinley and Teddy Roosevelt. Once you've read that at a remedial level, we'll have a conversation about it. Now you can kind of find out why I believe the things I do. I don't think tariffs are going to cause long-term inflation. We have a record of this 120 years ago. We have so much evidence that it didn't cause long-term inflation. In fact, we were the only ones that had any money at the onset of World War I. Okay? We had a small army. Why did Britain and France want us involved in the war? Because we were the only ones that had 2 nickels to rub together in 1917. Okay? We'll talk about that a later time. Good night, everybody.
If you wear nice clothes, people think you're showing off. If you wear simple clothes, people think you're poor. If you speak your mind, you're rude. If you stay quiet, then you're a coward. If you're successful, then you're arrogant. And if you're struggling, then you're lazy. You see, no matter what you do in life, people will always have something to say. So ignore people and their opinions. Because so long as your God is pleased with you, who cares what people think?
He knows that this is much bigger than him. This is about the American people. They have no idea what they have unleashed. He was ready to go face the cameras and come out swinging.
What will future Americans say we did in our brief time here on Earth? It will be defined by your vision, your perseverance, and your grit. Nothing will sway us, nothing will slow us, and no one will ever stop us. We are Americans. Ambition is our heritage. Greatness is our birthright, and the future belongs to us.